Hello and welcome to Pajama Chat. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of sightseeing in Genshin Impact. Today we're going to be looking at two locations that I personally find very interesting. That does not mean they are part of the Genshin Impact sightseeing log or vistas, whatever they're called in the game. These are just things that I found interesting as I played the game. We're going to be starting off with some really cool stuff here in the nation of Mondstat. So right off the bat, we have some very fun ruins. These are always fun for me to look at because I have accidentally become an architecture nerd in Genshin Impact. And so I've started to study whether the architecture dates from a particular era. And that's been really fun to me to look at like this sort of Norse braiding that happens. And so we're clearly in the line of perhaps like a temple or a city. And the architecture in Genshin, the assets that they use is actually really fun to look at because we have little pillars with little like Gothic arches within them, and that's always fun to look at. So this ruin actually goes all the way up to this thing on the hillside that you saw in the distance. This ruin is the Temple of the Four Winds, I believe is what it's called. And that's always a really fun place to look at. But on the way, I do want to do a little bit of a detour. So when I first started playing Genshin Impact, this is the path that I took to find this blue thing on the map. What is that blue thing? You can see in the upper corner. What is that? Let's find out. So I came down this way and I flew and oh, I see something. What is that? This is unique crystals to this very unique cave. Now, we were talking just a second ago about the architecture in the game, and most of the bosses, because this is a boss, sit on this kind of architecture base. So give me a second, and whenever you first encounter it, it's a terrifying creature, right? Like, you don't know what's going to happen. What's going on here? So let's go ahead and get it cleared from the area so we can look around safely. This sounds really weird to me because I took the voice dialogue off. So that's a very weird sound to be like, here. So that is a Regisvine, and that was the very first boss that I encountered when exploring the area. So if you look, here's the interesting thing. If you look at the kind of like ground that it's on, it's not quite like a Gothic architecture like with the arch, right? It's more angular and pointed. And you will see that repeated in various boss locations as we explore. But let's go ahead and head back up out of here. So I believe the easiest way would be to go back the way we came. So that was the first thing I wanted to show you was the Regisvine, the Cryo Regisvine specifically. Cryo in this game meaning ice. I believe that's Latin, isn't it? I want to say it's Latin. Why the game has no music playing, I don't know. So our next task is to just follow these ruins up. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of exploring. And here's one of the very first Thousand Winds Temple. That's what it's called. This archway is one of the interesting sections. Get over to it. So look at the base of like this pillar. You can see that it's got like that Gothic arch type entertainment going on there. And then here's more of that like intricate braiding. I know it's raining. We're just gonna have to look through it. Weather changed like a dime here. And then here's this sort of interesting arch. Now, that blue little speck above my head, that is the teleport point that I was next to when we came in here. So we've come a little bit of a distance, but let's go ahead and make our way up to the temple itself. So this is probably like the base of the temple. Here's a bit more of the pillars. Now, I called these, and I tend to want to default to it, I call them Paimon ruins. Because the sort of Gothic architecture type symbol on their designs reminds me a lot of the architecture of Paimon's stomach design. So here's another interesting area. So we're going to climb up these pillars. Again, these are like The Paimon Gothic arch is still present here. You can see that. Again, I accidentally became an architecture nerd while playing this game. I don't know if anyone else did, but I certainly did. So down here, you can see that there's some sort of like temple base. This was an important structure of some sort. So up there, that is our goal. So we're gonna go ahead and head over that way. And I've become such a nerd. I say that with so much love. I've become such a nerd with looking at the architecture in this game that I can pretty much pinpoint what kind of architecture we're looking at from one area to another based on like the stones that we walk on. So see how these stones are kind of hexagon and a little bit uneven, but they have a certain coloring and shape to them. And then if you look, you can kind of see, ooh, the rain's helping a lot. You can see, oh, there it goes. Go away, please. Busy. Thank you. You can see, it's a little bit harder to see now that it's sunny, but there are these, I want to say scratches, but they're like almost circle designs on the stone that we walk on. And that is unique to this era of architecture. I call it the Paimon architecture, but that's just me. You'll also find things like these. These are a ruin guard. So we're in the temple itself, and our ruin guard buddy, he's one of the ones that's named. So not every single ruin guard that you're going to run into in the game will have a name. So you can see his code number is GN, then N, GN. So what does GN stand for? We don't know. Whoops. And then it's a slash and then HU. So hunter, perhaps. And then a code number for his identification. So let's go ahead and just take him out here because he's in our way. Okay. So you can see a little bit where I'm standing. The architecture has, the stones have this like swoop design. And this is actually a really good place to be standing because you can see that as the stones are aligned together, they make these Gothic knots or braids, and that's really interesting to me. And you can see it's mirrored here in the pillars. And then over here, this is why I call them Paimon ruins, because if we pull up our menu and we look at Paimon, Paimon has 3 triangles. I don't know the actual terminology because I'm really bad at that. But that Paimon has 3 triangle type designs on their belly. And they are Gothic arches. It might be 4, but it's probably just 3. And I say it might be 3 because these symbols, you can see at the top of the archways here, that looks a lot like the Paimon symbol, doesn't it? Now, there's 2 symbols we're looking at here. Let's get a little bit closer. Here's our braiding, and then here's our symbol. So there's the larger symbol of the emblem that comes outside of it. And then in the core of it, you can see the triangles, the knot, the Celtic knot type design, and it's pointing south. That is mirrored on Paimon's stomach. And that is why I call these the Paimon ruins. In a later episode, I will talk to you about how I think that they relate to the 3 realms gateway and potentially 4 realms, because there are ruins that seem to have 4 points to them, not just the 3. So I believe that these ruins are actually perhaps some of the oldest ruins in the game. And then this sort of like webbing Gothic architecture that I'm climbing up right here, this very specific like leaf motif, it's mirrored in the Paimon ruins, don't get me wrong, but it's also mirrored in another location that we'll take a look at a later time. So these are the 2 lovely things that I wanted to do a little bit of sightseeing with you. If you like this content, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more, please share a comment down below and let me know. I'm planning to go perhaps nation by nation, but perhaps we'll do a little bit of freeform and explore the areas as we go. Have a lovely day. Bye.